The Zorvax Empire was unstoppable. Their warships had crushed hundreds of planets. No species could stand against them. When they found a small human colony on the edge of space, they attacked without warning. The colony never had a chance. Within minutes, the entire settlement was turned to dust. The Zorvax commander, General Vorlek, watched from his ship, pleased with their victory. "Humans are weak," he laughed. "They will not dare fight back." But then, something strange happened. Every screen on every Zorvax ship flickered. A single message appeared, repeating over and over in bold red letters. CAUTIONARIV, INGHUMAINWUARVESSEL. At first, the Zorvax officers were confused. Then they laughed. "One ship? Against our entire fleet?" Vorlek scoffed. "Let them come." The message kept repeating, but no human ships appeared. Hours passed. The fleet remained on high alert, scanning space for any sign of movement. But there was nothing. Then, without warning, the first Zorvax battleship went dark.no explosion. No distress signal. Just gone. The crew panicked. "What happened?" Vorlek barked. The scanners showed nothing. No enemy ships. No attacks. But now, another battleship disappeared. Then another. Within minutes, 5 warships were gone. Fear spread through the Zorvax fleet. "Sir, we can't detect anything. The enemy is invisible," one officer shouted. Vorlek clenched his fists. "Impossible. Find them." The fleet fired blindly into space, hoping to hit something. Nothing. The stars remained silent. Then something even worse happened. A deep metallic voice echoed through every ship. "You were warned." The voice was calm. Cold. Human. Vorlek's blood ran cold. "Who is this?" he demanded. "Show yourself." The voice did not answer. Instead, another battleship vanished from the radar. Then another. The fear turned into full-blown terror. The Zorvax Empire had never faced anything like this. A few ships tried to escape, but their engines failed. Something was blocking them, trapping them. Then they saw it. A massive shadow moved in the distance, blocking out the stars. It was a warship black as night, larger than anything the Zorvax had ever built. It didn't need to fire weapons. It didn't need to send threats. IT had already won. Vorlek realized the truth too late. The humans were not weak. They were patient. And they never forgave. His last thought, before his ship was swallowed by the darkness, was the message that had warned them all. CAUTIONARIVINGHUMANNWUARVESSEL. The Dralvian armada surrounded the human colony of Vega 9. Thousands of alien warships filled the sky, their weapons charged and ready. The Dralvians had conquered many worlds before, and this was just another easy victory. Commander Exilox stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human colony below. His fleet had already blocked all communication signals. There would be no escape. "Humans are weak," he sneered. "They will surrender soon." But before the attack could begin, CAUTIONARIVINGHUMANWARVESSEL. Silix frowned. "One ship? Against my entire armada?" His officers laughed. This had to be a bluff. But then, something strange happened. The Dralvian warships at the edge of the fleet suddenly lost contact. Their signals vanished. No explosions. No distress calls. Just silence. Silix narrowed his eyes. "Find those ships." Now, his officers scrambled, scanning for any sign of the missing warships. But there was nothing. No debris. No escape pods. It was as if they had never existed. Then, another warship vanished. This time, the crew managed to send a brief transmission before disappearing. "Something is here." Panic spread through the Dralvian ranks. Silix clenched his fists. "Show me the enemy ship." His scanners picked up nothing. No movement. no signals. The humans had no stealth technology advanced enough to do this. Then how were their ships disappearing? The silence deepened. The stars beyond the fleet looked normal, but something was wrong. Then, the lights on the bridge flickered. The screens distorted. A deep, mechanical voice echoed through the flagship. "You are being hunted." Silix felt a chill crawl up his spine. This was no ordinary human ship. This was something else. Something terrifying. Another ship vanished. Then another. The fleet was shrinking, and they still couldn't see the enemy. The officers were in chaos. "Commander, we need to retreat." Zilux refused. "We're the Dralvian Armada. We do not run from one ship." But his words meant nothing. One by one, the fleet was disappearing. Some ships tried to fire into the darkness, but they hit nothing. And then, for the first time, they saw it. A massive black warship materialized in the void. It had no lights, no visible weapons, only a dark, endless shape that absorbed all light around it. It moved silently, as if space itself bent around it. The Silent Hunter. It didn't fire weapons. It didn't need to. The Dralvian warships simply stopped working. Their engines died. Their shields failed. One by one, they floated helplessly into the void. Silix's breath came in short gasps. "No, this isn't possible." The voice returned, colder than before. "You thought humans were weak. You were wrong." The flagship's alarms blared. Systems shut down. The last thing Zilix saw was the darkness creeping closer, swallowing everything. Then there was silence. Only the empty stars remained. The Exalthar Dominion had ruled the galaxy for centuries. No species had ever stood against them and survived. Their warfleet, a massive collection of battle-hardened ships, moved through space like a storm, destroying any planet that dared to resist. When the humans refused to surrender, the Exalthar's supreme commander, Vorkath, saw it as nothing more than another routine conquest. "Crush them," he ordered. A fleet of 1,000 warships moved toward Earth, ready to burn it to the ground. The journey was long, but the Exalthar were patient. Days before reaching human space, their communication systems picked up an unknown transmission. It was a simple message. "See a UTIONARIVINGH, UMAN et al. UARVSEL." The message repeated on every screen, across every ship in the fleet. Vorkath scoffed. "One ship? Against 1,000? The officers laughed. But then, something strange happened. One of the warships at the back of the fleet went silent. No distress call. No explosion. It simply vanished. "Check the scanners," Vorkath ordered. Nothing. No wreckage. No sign of an attack. It was as if the ship had never existed. Then, another ship disappeared. And another. Panic spread through the fleet. "We're under attack," an officer shouted. Vorkath slammed his fist on the console. "From where?" "I see nothing." The scanners detected no enemy ships, no missiles, no energy signatures. But the fleet was shrinking, one ship at a time. Then, something even worse happened. The lights flickered. The ship's artificial gravity fluctuated. The air felt heavy, as if something unseen had entered the flagship. A deep, metallic voice echoed through the command center. "You are not the hunters. You are the prey." Vorkath's blood ran cold. "Who said that?" he demanded. No1 answered. Outside, the fleet was in chaos. The remaining warships fired blindly into the darkness. Energy beams and missiles shot into empty space, hitting nothing. Whatever was attacking them was invisible. Then, for the first time, they saw it. A massive shadow moved between the stars. It had no lights, no markings, just a dark, shifting form that seemed to absorb all energy around it. The Exalthar had faced many enemies, but nothing like this. The officers tried to scan it. The computers refused to acknowledge its existence. Then, the ship's alarms screamed. The flagship's power systems began shutting down one by one. "Weapons!" Shields. Engines. We have to retreat. An officer yelled. Vorkath shook his head. No, we are the Excelthar. We do not run. But the officers were already abandoning their posts. The fear was too strong. They were not fighting an army. They were fighting something they could not see, could not understand, could not stop. The voice returned, whispering through the ship. You should have stayed away. The last thing Vorkath saw was the darkness closing in. Then, the fleet was gone. The Excelthar Dominion, once rulers of the galaxy, had finally met their match. The unseen enemy. The Vexari Empire was known for its ruthless conquests. Their vast warships had obliterated countless planets, and no enemy had ever been able to stop them. The Vexari believed that their strength was unmatched, their victory inevitable. When they set their sights on the human colony of Omega-7, they dispatched their fleet, hundreds of massive warships ready to crush the tiny human world. On the bridge of the lead ship, Admiral Kareth watched as his fleet moved toward the colony. The human defenders would never stand a chance. Prepare to engage, he ordered, his voice cold and confident. The Vexari ships moved into position, their weapons primed. But as they neared Omega-7, a strange signal appeared on their screens. A single line of text flashed across every ship's communication system. Sia UTIONARIV INGHUMANAU UARVESSEL. Kareth chuckled. A single ship? Against my fleet? This is nothing. The officers around him laughed as well. A desperate attempt to delay the inevitable. But something in the air felt off. The message kept repeating over and over, each time more urgent. Sia UTIONARIVINGHUMANWARVESSEL. Then, without warning, one of the Vexari warships on the outer edge of the fleet disappeared. No explosion. No distress call. It was simply gone. The crew gasped. What happened? An officer asked, his voice shaking. Kareth stood up, his expression hardening. Find the cause. Now. The scanner searched the area, but there was nothing. No enemy ships. No energy signatures. It was as if the missing ship had vanished into thin air. And then another Vexari warship disappeared. It's happening again, the officer shouted. The fleet's commander remained calm. It's a trick. They're hiding. All ships, prepare for battle. But as they readied their weapons, yet another ship vanished. This is impossible, Kareth shouted, his face twisting in confusion and fear. The fleet began to panic. Warships fired blindly into the empty space, but there was no return fire. Nothing to hit. Yet, the fleet was losing ships one by one, silently, without a trace. We need to get out of here. Someone screamed, but Kareth refused. No, we will not retreat from one ship. Fight, or we'll lose everything. But it was already too late. The ships around them seemed to be vanishing into the void, leaving nothing behind. The fleet was falling apart, and Kareth had no idea how to stop it. He tried to command his remaining ships, but they were disobeying, falling into chaos. And then, as the last of his fleet was lost to the darkness, a shadow appeared. It was enormous black, dark as the void itself. A warship like no other. Silent. Unseen. It seemed to absorb all light and energy around it. The scanners couldn't read it. The weapons couldn't target it. And still, the human warship moved closer. The Vexari ships were helpless. They tried to turn, tried to flee, but their systems failed. Their engines sputtered and died. The lone human ship continued its silent approach. It was not in a rush. It was patient. What is this? Kareth whispered, his voice filled with dread. How can one ship do this? A voice suddenly echoed through the communications system, cold and devoid of emotion. You thought you could conquer us? Now you will understand our wrath. And just like that, the lone human warship struck. It didn't fire weapons. It didn't need to. The Vexory ships crumpled under the force of its presence, falling apart without a single shot fired. One by one, they were obliterated, crushed under the weight of the human ship's silent vengeance. Kareth stood on the bridge, paralyzed with fear. He had never seen anything like this. His entire fleet, the pride of the Vexory Empire, was destroyed by one ship. The last thing he saw was the shadow of the human vessel filling the sky, and then, nothing. The wrath of the lone ship had come, and nothing could stop it. The Tarvok Alliance had destroyed entire civilizations. Their war machines were massive and unstoppable, built for one thing: conquest. They had swept across the galaxy, crushing anyone who dared to resist them. When they reached Earth, they were sure it would be no different. The humans, a young and relatively weak species, were nothing compared to the ancient, battle-hardened Tarvok. The Alliance's fleet of warships moved toward Earth's orbit, ready to annihilate any human defenses. Admiral Korak, commander of the Tarvok fleet, stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the blue planet. "Prepare for bombardment," he ordered, his voice cold and unyielding. The warships lined up in formation, their weapons primed. Korak felt a sense of superiority. This was the moment of humanity's downfall. But as they moved closer, something strange happened. A message appeared on the screens of every Tarvok ship. CAUTIONARIVINGHUMANWARVESSEL. Korak narrowed his eyes. One ship? Against my fleet? They are desperate. He had seen the message before. It was a trick, an attempt to buy time. But the message kept repeating, flashing across every ship's screen. CAUTIONARIVINGHUMANWARVESSEL. Korak's patience wore thin. Ignore it. Continue the attack. But then, one of the Tarvok warships went silent. Its engine shut down, and it began to drift away from the fleet. No one could explain why. "What's happening?" an officer asked, fear creeping into his voice. The crew scrambled to regain control, but the ship was gone, vanished without a trace. Korak clenched his fists. "Find out what happened." Now, the scanners showed no enemy ship, no sign of an attack. It was as if the Tarvok warship had simply disappeared. And then another ship vanished. And another. The fleet began to shake. The lights flickered. The crew was in chaos, scrambling for answers. "We need to get out of here," someone yelled. Korak stood firm, though his heart raced. "No, we will not retreat." But as the last of the Tarvok ships continued to disappear one by one, Korak realized something. This was no trick. This was something far worse. Then, a deep, metallic voice echoed through every ship's communication system. It was cold, void of emotion, and undeniably human. "You came to destroy us. Now you will face the price of your arrogance." The voice was calm, yet terrifying. The Tarvok officers tried to locate the source, but their systems failed. No matter how much they searched, there was nothing. No ships. No weapons. Just silence. And then they saw it. A massive shadow appeared in the distance, growing closer with every passing second. It was black, sleek, and silent. There were no lights, no insignia, no signs of any life aboard. But its presence felt overwhelming, like a predator stalking its prey. The Tarvok warships tried to fire, but their weapons failed. Their shields went down. Their engines sputtered. They couldn't move. They were helpless. "What is that?" Korak shouted, his voice filled with dread. A new transmission came through, chilling them to the core. "You underestimated us. You thought you could break us. You were wrong." And just like that, the human warship struck. It didn't fire lasers. It didn't launch missiles. There was no explosion, no violent attack. The Tarvok ship simply stopped working. Systems shut down. Engines died. Shields failed. They floated helplessly in space, trapped by an unseen force. One by one, the ships crumbled. Korak watched in horror as his fleet was destroyed not by weapons, but by something far more powerful, human ingenuity and the wrath of Earth. The last thing Korak saw was the shadow of the human vessel looming over him, and then his own ship, his flagship, disappeared into nothingness. Earth had not surrendered. Earth had not begged for mercy, and there would be no mercy from Earth.